Do you believe that Britney was like to Diddy and
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cassie just name-dropped Britney Spears in the Diddy trial as she was on the stand.
And Diddy inviting heavyweights like Britney to flex his clout.
What could possibly link music mogul Diddy to pop icon Britney Spears, an unexpected connection, comes to light in court, turning the trial upside down. The tension in the room became unbearable as evidence of their ties through the mysterious freaks' offs party was presented. What was Diddy hiding and why was his reaction so explosive?
Do you believe that Britney was like to Diddy and
Absolutely. Absolutely. All of those girls, all of those Mickey Mouse girls, including Christina Aguilera, all of these children have been picked. Part of the reason why they can't tell you is because they were drugged. When most of what was happening to them was happening. And what they have left are the memories and the nightmares.
Do you believe that Bieber has been trying to expose Diddy for years? Because if you look at his Yummy video, there's a lot of indicators that he was trying to expose what these elites are really doing to children. He used pizza images a lot.
Rihanna, all of them. Listen to their music after they get their big hit record and their deal. That Lou Taylor is friends with Diddy. They're all listed on the charter of that same church.
Over here. Y'all can bring the 500 cameras over here. Y'all can bring it to George Clooney or Tom Cruise or Will Smith.
So you saying give Britney a break?
Give Britney or any woman or children, you're supposed to have rules to the game. There's supposed to be, there gotta be rules to the game. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And don't put nobody in danger driving, you know? I think that right now, everybody's treating everybody in the world like they can't make a mistake, or they have to be this perfect thing, whether it's Barack Obama, Reverend Wright, whether it's Miley Cyrus or, you know, Britney Spears. Everybody has to be perfect, and life ain't like that.
Cassie just name-dropped Britney Spears in the Diddy trial as she was on the stand testifying. She said, Sean was there and he brought Dallas Austin, Britney Spears. I think those were the two that stand out to me. Now, what she is talking about is her 21st birthday party that took place on September 8th, 2007. The picture is right above. You see Britney with Diddy, Paris Hilton, and then there's Dallas Austin next to her.
This is gonna blow your mind. This is the evolution of Britney Spears from 2000 to 2024. And look what happened in 2003. Who's this guy? Anyone recognize him? And also pay attention to what happens in 2007.
Right now, P. Diddy is looking at spending the rest of his life in prison for human trafficking and also assault towards Cassie Ventura, who was his ex-girlfriend. Cassie Ventura has explained that one way P. Diddy would always try to manipulate her was trying getting other celebrities to come to parties, with one example being Britney Spears, who came to Cassie's 21st birthday party. That birthday party was actually the night before the 2007 VMAs, where Britney Spears had one of the worst performances of her career, and many called it the beginning of the end. And after that happened, Britney Spears actually came out apologizing for the performance, saying she was extremely tired, having no sleep the night before, and did admit to being hungover. Now it's been insinuated that story actually goes much deeper, where P. Diddy might have tried to set Britney Spears up that night, getting her drunk on purpose and keeping her up to try and get her to have a bad performance. From the point of view that P. Diddy had this idea that if Britney Spears' career tanked and she was losing popularity, she'd be more reluctant to sign with his record label instead. From Cassie Ventura's point of view, she said that Britney Spears was just a pawn to P. Diddy to try and get her at that birthday party for Cassie, so she'd be so impressed she would date P. Diddy. It actually worked because that was the first night ever Cassie Ventura did kiss P. Diddy. For Britney Spears, it's not likely she was ever seriously abused by P. Diddy, but it definitely seems like she was a pawn in his plans, and with that I'm Charles Sproul. Subscribe to learn something.
What is the Freaks Offs party? And why has it ignited so much controversy for years? This elusive event was something of an urban legend amongst Hollywood insiders, whispered about at after parties, but rarely discussed publicly. According to rumors, the Freaks Offs party was an exclusive gathering of elite celebrities, shrouded in secrecy with a hand-picked guest list. Entry was said to require an invitation so exclusive that even powerful Hollywood players whispered about its existence like a forbidden secret. The rumored location constantly changed, adding to its mystique, and the activities allegedly taking place inside the party weren't exactly the kind of things you'd associate with glitz and glamour. Until now, details about these events were largely speculative. They floated through gossip blogs and anonymous insider claims, never quite making their way into the public spotlight in any meaningful way. But this trial changed everything. Evidence presented in court has shed unexpected light on just how central these gatherings might have been to power plays, alliances, and controversies within the world of A-list celebrities. Reports suggest that these parties didn't simply involve mingling and extravagant displays of wealth. They were arenas for behavior that could put careers and even reputations on the line if revealed. The specifics, let's just say the mystery, was enough to keep reporters and the public hooked over the years without anyone ever putting a definitive label on what exactly went on. But one constant in the rumors was Sean Diddy Combs. For a long time, Diddy has been dogged by claims of organizing and attending these events with his undeniable charisma and authority in the entertainment world, making it all too believable. Diddy had the social pull to make it happen, and the connections to ensure these parties remained under wraps. His involvement, though widely speculated, was never confirmed until evidence started pouring out in this very trial. The prosecution's claims have pointed squarely at him as one of the key players behind the origins of the events, and just when this revelation seemed like it couldn't get any bigger, another name surfaced: Britney Spears. Yes, Britney. Once the emblem of innocence turned pop rebellion, was suddenly being tied to these gatherings in ways no one could have predicted. Her name was enough to send the gallery buzzing, and it only added to the weight of what was unfolding in court. It wasn't just the public that lost its composure. Legal analysts have said that this trial is shaping up to be a demonstration of how tightly controlled celebrity narratives can be unraveled in an instant. If the Freaks-Off's party was once thought of as the kind of rumor that would forever be shrugged off as tabloid fiction, this trial has effectively turned it into the centerpiece of damning allegations. How Britney fits into it all is another story entirely. But ironically, it's the mystery itself that continues to keep everyone glued. What was revealed in court left attendees stunned, and the allegations were far beyond anything that had previously been whispered behind closed doors. But the question remains, how does Britney Spears tie into this shadowy world? Was she truly a participant? Or could there be more to the story than what's currently being alleged?
Now, instead of showing a photo at the end of 2024, I'm going to show you a video of how she looks now as of a month ago, so stay tuned. But here, the famous meltdown 2027, I also found her reportedly going to Diddy parties in 2007, and then the whole situation. Coincidence? I don't know, you be the judge. Either way, she's looking pretty good afterwards, as if, she survived Diddy. I have nothing bad to say about Britney Spears. I hope everything's going well for her. I hope she continues to be successful. But at some point soon, it does look like she starts to become a slightly different person. But I'll let you guys be the judge. What do you think? Is it the same person from here to here and moving forward? Do we have a different Britney? Has she just aged? Is it none of my business? Is it none of all of our business? Either way, stick around, because in 2024, she has made an appearance about a month ago, and you're about to see what that is. I'm gonna get out the way. Here you are.
I forget I'm famous sometimes.
2024.
I'm a bit rough, but I thought it was kind of cool. The Sabrina girl, Carpenter, she said something. I was like, thanks, that's cool. She's very cool. Okay, maybe not.
According to a Bombshell report by Shutterscoop, Diddy's been bragging for years about hooking up with Britney that very night. A longtime associate claims Diddy told this story dozens of times, laughing about how Britney was crazy in bed and out of control. He thought it made him look like a player, another notch on his belt. Photos from that night show Britney and Diddy cozying up together. Her eyes are hidden behind sunglasses indoors at night. Just to keep that in mind. Now, she was looking like she could barely hold herself together. In 2007, Britney was 25, a global superstar, but her life was unraveling. She lost custody of her 2 young sons, was battling addiction, and was trapped in a toxic conservatorship that controlled her every move. The media was ruthless, painting her as a fallen idol. Meanwhile, Diddy was at the peak of his power. Bad Boy Records mogul, fashion icon, party king.
How does one of the biggest pop stars of all time connect to such a shadowy world? That question gripped the courtroom as the prosecution unveiled new evidence tying Britney Spears to the infamous Freaks-Off's party. From the moment the judge allowed the mention of her name, the atmosphere in the room shifted entirely. For a trial already packed with salacious claims, this revelation took the stakes to an entirely new level. Gasps rippled through the gallery, and even seasoned reporters were caught off guard. All eyes turned toward Diddy, who sat frozen, his expression unreadable as the prosecution laid out their case. The evidence came in the form of a series of messages retrieved from an encrypted platform allegedly used to organize these elite gatherings. Prosecutors displayed email chains and text messages on the courtroom screens, carefully piecing together a timeline that appeared to show Britney being invited to and attending at least 2 of these exclusive events. One, particularly damning thread, referenced a white-hot headliner who would be making a surprise appearance. Another message explicitly named Britney as the guest of honor, a claim that immediately set the courtroom abuzz. These emails dated back several years, aligning with a period in Britney's life when she was under heavy public and legal scrutiny regarding her conservatorship. Perhaps the most gripping moment came when a witness took the stand to verify the authenticity of the messages. This individual, A, former assistant to one of the alleged party organizers, identified Britney's name in the logs and described seeing her appear at one such gathering. According to the witness's statement, Britney was driven to the location in a private vehicle, escorted inside quickly, and kept away from other attendees for most of the event. Yet despite her apparent isolation, the idea that she was even present at these notorious get-togethers was enough to stun the court. The prosecution didn't stop there. They presented a photo entered into evidence allegedly taken at one of these gatherings, where a blonde woman bearing an uncanny resemblance to Britney appeared standing in the background of a darkened room. While the image was grainy, the commentary surrounding it from both the legal team and the witness left little doubt about who they were claiming it to be. The timeline made everything even more complicated. These alleged appearances coincided directly with Britney's peak years of control. Under the conservatorship, an aspect that raised haunting questions about whether her involvement had been entirely voluntary or whether she had been coerced into attending. As the evidence mounted, the weight of Britney's name in the trial became undeniable. For years, her public image had been carefully cultivated either as a pop sensation or a victim of systemic legal and personal manipulation. Now her name was echoing in a courtroom tied to allegations that could shift public perception. Again, was she complicit? Or was this yet another chapter in the exploitation of her life, regardless of the answer? One thing was certain. Her connection to the Freaks-Offs party now defined one of the most shocking moments of the trial. And for Diddy, the fallout was just beginning. How did he react as the evidence surfaced in real time?
More pictures from that night. There's Britney. Obviously, that's Cassie and Diddy. More pictures from that night. Britney standing next to Diddy, 50 Cent, Paris. Another one from that night. Britney with Diddy, Cassie. Why is this important? Well, September 8th, 2007 was the night before the MTV Video Music Awards, the 2007 MTV Video Music Awards, where Britney Spears performed her now infamous performance of Gimme More. Now, also why it's important, because Lou Taylor and Robin Greenhill from TriStar Sports and Entertainment allegedly were the ones that orchestrated Britney's conservatorship to begin with, and they have been named in this Diddy lawsuit multiple times. It's a little bit jarring because the Britney fandom has always had questions about that night. These pictures are not new. We've seen these pictures for a long time, but we've always had questions on what went on that night because Britney just didn't seem okay the next day.
It's September 7, 2007, and Las Vegas is buzzing. The Strip's alive with neon lights, thumping music, and A-list celebs are bouncing from club to club. Britney Spears, the pop princess herself, is at Pure Nightclub for Cassie Ventura's 21st birthday bash, hosted by none other than Sean Diddy Combs. Paris Hilton's there, music producer Dallas Austin is in the mix, and the VIP section's a chaotic swirl of champagne, flashing cameras, and a lot of narcissistic egos. Anyway, Britney's already under a microscope, fresh off her divorce from Kevin Federline. That head-shaping moment, you guys remember that back then? And the relentless paparazzi stalking her every move. She's trying to claw her way back with a new single, Gimme More. Now, that was set to debut at the MTV VMAs in 2 ways. But tonight, she's partying and the world was not watching.
The moment Britney Spears' name was uttered in court, all eyes in the room shifted to Diddy. He sat at the defense table, his body still but his jaw noticeably clenched. His demeanor up to that point had been remarkably composed, arms crossed occasionally, whispering to his legal team, projecting confidence even as the trial's tone grew increasingly tense. But the instant prosecutors began outlining Britney's alleged involvement in the Freaksoft's party, his expression changed. He leaned forward slightly, hands clasped tightly on the table, his focus trained on the screen where messages and evidence were being displayed. The flicker of discomfort was subtle, but unmistakable. As the allegations unfolded, the silence in the courtroom grew deafening, broken only by the audible rustle of papers and muted gasps from reporters and attendees. Prosecutors had just finished presenting a series of text messages linking Britney to invitations for the gatherings when they transitioned to a witness statement, a key piece of evidence that named her as a central figure at one party. This was when Diddy's composure began to crack. While he didn't stand or shout, his eyes darted toward his lawyers with an urgency that couldn't be ignored. At one point, he appeared to mouth something, though it wasn't clear what he said. A sharp breath escaped him, subtle, yet loaded with tension, as if he was fighting to maintain control. The courtroom atmosphere only intensified as a photo claimed to depict. Britney at one of the events was shown. That's when Diddy betrayed his first visible outburst. He shifted back abruptly in his chair, his arms leaving the table to fold across his chest, his head turning slightly toward the gallery where spectators sat, though he said nothing aloud. His body language spoke volumes. His foot tapped against the floor nervously, and for a brief moment, he seemed to shake his head in frustration or disbelief. It was a rare, unscripted moment in a trial that had been tightly orchestrated on all sides. The reaction wasn't confined to those inside the room. Legal analysts and commentators immediately seized on Diddy's visible unease, framing it as a potential turning point. Some speculated it signaled an admission of guilt, while others argued it was the reaction of someone blindsided by exaggerated allegations. Regardless, the moment didn't go unnoticed. Within hours, headlines splashed across media outlets dissected his behavior frame by frame, questioning whether this was the first crack in the confident facade he had maintained. His legal team, clearly anticipating the fallout, scrambled to respond. They insisted Diddy's reaction was born out of frustration with the court's acceptance of unreliable evidence and not an admission of wrongdoing. During a break, one member of his legal counsel made an off-the-record comment to reporters, dismissing the Britney revelations as a desperate attempt to involve unrelated figures. But their efforts to regain control over the narrative only fueled more speculation about what his body language had revealed. What struck everyone the most, however, was Diddy's demeanor. After the break, he returned to his seat, rigid and stoic, barely acknowledging his surroundings as the trial proceeded. Whether it was guilt, annoyance, or pure shock, something had clearly shifted. Was this the reaction of a man caught off guard? Or was there more he wasn't ready to face? More importantly, what role did Britney really play in the shadowy events tied to these allegations?
Now, after they left Pure, they moved to 50 Cent's after party at the Hard Rock Hotel, and the night, it stretched into the early hours of the morning. Insiders say that Britney was glass-eyed, disoriented, clinging to Diddy in a way that raised everyone's eyebrows. Now, fast forward to September 9th, 2007. Britney takes the stage at the VMAs to perform Gimme More. It's supposed to be her big comeback, the moment she proves she's still got it. Instead, it's a train wreck. She stumbles through the choreography, lip syncs off beat, and looks like she's somewhere else entirely. Critics rip her apart, calling it the lowest point of her career. Fans, well, they're left heartbroken. Britney later admits in her 2023 memoir, The Woman in Me, that she hadn't slept that night before, had a panic attack backstage, and felt forced to perform despite begging to back out. She wrote, "I knew it was going to be bad. I was a mess." But what she didn't say, and what's now coming to light, Cassie Ventura, his then girlfriend, was a rising R&B star, signed to his label. That Vegas night was her 21st birthday, and Diddy pulled out all the stops, inviting heavyweights like Britney to flex his clout. But here's the problem. Diddy's not looking so untouchable anymore. In September of 2024, as we know, he was arrested on federal charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, transportation for prostitution. He's been in a Brooklyn detention center ever since, pleading not guilty, of course. But the evidence is piling up, okay? We've been covering the case. Cassie's 2023 lawsuit against him, settled out of court for $20 million, accused him of rape, physical abuse, and forcing her into drug-fueled freak-offs, which we know was with all these male escorts from around the country, and she's getting it on while he watches. Her testimony in Diddy's ongoing trial, which, like I said, we've been covering, is where Britney's name first resurfaced.
What would lead Britney Spears to these infamous gatherings, and how does her role fit into the shadowy world tied to the Freaks-Offs party? That was the question hanging in the air after prosecutors laid out their claims. The allegations surrounding Britney's involvement painted a picture that blurred the line between scandal and speculation. According to the evidence presented, Britney was not just a name on the guest list, but a figure who may have been deliberately ushered into these events, under circumstances that raised even more questions than answers. Witness testimonies revealed a timeline that stretched back to Britney's most tumultuous years, around the height of her conservatorship battle, when every corner of her life seemed micromanaged. One witness described seeing Britney arrive at a Freaks-Offs party in the early 2010s, noting how she was chauffeured in a black SUV and quickly escorted inside while appearing withdrawn. The witness testified that Britney's demeanor seemed out of place amid the larger-than-life personalities and wild nature of these events. Her presence raised an obvious question. Was she an active participant, or was her appearance orchestrated by others with control over her life at the time? Adding to the intrigue was a series of text messages and email chains entered into evidence, some of which referred to Britney as a headlining surprise for a guest list made up of entertainment elites. Prosecutors argued that these communications suggested Britney was deliberately invited as a focal point for these events, though it remained unclear how much was by choice and how much was under duress. One specific email dated from 2012 described her as tentative about attending, but added that certain key figures made arrangements to ensure her presence. This hint of coercion added a layer of complexity to the trial and brought her life under conservatorship into sharper focus. The allegations clashed with Britney's carefully crafted public image at the time. As fans knew her, she was a pop-me star shackled by a controlling conservatorship, locked in a fight for personal freedom. The new claims painted a vastly different picture, one of potential involvement in secretive gatherings, with questionable motives. However, her defenders have been quick to speculate that this connection, if true, may have been yet another byproduct of exploitation. The idea that those who managed her affairs could have maneuvered her into attending such notorious parties is a grim possibility that no one could ignore. The courtroom's most shocking moment came when prosecutors displayed a second photograph, one with clearer detail. In it, a woman resembling Britney could be seen near a secluded corner avoiding the crowds. Though the image was far from definitive, its inclusion sent shockwaves through both the gallery and the wider public. Social media exploded as fans debated the allegations, some expressing outrage while others questioned whether Britney had been unknowingly dragged into something far beyond her control. Despite the speculation, nothing concrete about Britney's true involvement has been established. The Freaks-Offs party allegations revealed layers of intrigue that still left room for doubt. Was she there by design or coercion? As the trial continues, the defense is expected to address this head-on.
Cassie told the jury that Diddy invited Britney and Dallas Austin, her ex-boyfriend, to her Vegas birthday party, and that the beginning of the relationship was kind of marked publicly with a kiss. Photos from Getty Images confirm Britney was there, posing with Diddy, Cassie, and Austin at Jet nightclub, another spot they hit that night. Now, I'm not sure of the mechanics of how her relationship worked, but Cassie was with Dallas Austin first. He was her producer. Then Diddy met Cassie and signed her, and that's when he made the move to take her away from Dallas Austin. So I don't know if Cassie was still with Dallas at that time, and this is when Diddy made his move, or would Dallas come to her party after Diddy has like snatched her away? I don't know how it works, but it's all crazy. But understand, this was the very beginning of Cassie and Diddy's relationship, or close to it. And this is also where allegedly the violence began. Witnesses like Cassie's makeup artist, Mila Morales, who testified, and Diddy's former assistant, George Kaplan, okay? They both testified about seeing Cassie with bruises and injuries allegedly from Diddy's violence. Kaplan even quit working for Diddy because he felt shook by the rapper's actions towards the women in his life. Not only seeing just like small things with Cassie, but another woman named Gina. And this also includes a 2015 incident where Diddy was on a private jet to Vegas and started abusing Cassie right there on the plane in front of everyone.
Did the defense have a convincing explanation for Britney's alleged involvement? That was the looming question, as Diddy's legal team rose to address the explosive allegations tying her to the Freaks-Off's party. Until this point, much of the trial had centered on unearthing scandalous details, but now it was the defense's chance to dismantle the prosecution's claims. They came armed with a clear stance. Britney's connection was, according to them, built on unreliable witnesses, circumstantial evidence, and a heavy dose of public fascination with her personal struggles. From the start, the defense painted the allegations as a desperate attempt to gain attention. They argued that tying Britney Spears to these events was not only a distraction, but also an attempt to inflate the salaciousness of the trial. The evidence presented is flimsy at best. One defense attorney told the court during a fiery rebuttal, pausing to emphasize what they called a lack of substance in the prosecution's narrative. The defense was quick to question the credibility of the witnesses who claimed to have seen Britney at these parties, pointing out inconsistencies in their testimonies. In one case, a key witness had allegedly altered their account multiple times, something the defense highlighted to undermine their reliability. The text messages and emails, which had served as the cornerstone of the prosecution's argument, were attacked. Next, the defense introduced a forensic technology expert to cast doubt on their authenticity, suggesting that they could have been altered or taken out of context. The expert testified that without full server access, it was impossible to verify the timestamps or even confirm Britney's direct involvement in the exchanges. What we have here are fragments. The expert said fragments that don't add up to a full picture. This technical breakdown created enough uncertainty to make spectators wonder whether the evidence was being manipulated or misinterpreted. A particularly striking moment came when the defense addressed the photograph that allegedly placed Britney at one of these events. They brought forward their own expert, who testified that the grainy quality of the image made it highly unreliable. This could easily be mistaken identity. The expert claimed presenting examples of visual distortions in comparable photographs. By the end of this cross-examination, even some in the gallery seemed uncertain about whether the photo could truly hold up as evidence. However, the defense's challenge didn't resonate equally with everyone. Many found their dismissal of the Britney link too convenient and overly reliant on calling everything into question without providing substantial counter-evidence. Public reaction was mixed. Some were convinced the connection had been debunked, while others accused the defense of deflecting rather than disproving the claims outright. Trial watchers drew comparisons to past celebrity cases, where legal teams used similar tactics of overwhelming uncertainty to sway courts and media narratives, sometimes to great effect, other times less so. One pivotal moment came when the prosecution rebutted an expert's claim about the emails, reminding the court that multiple sources had verified the communications chain of custody. This undercut a portion of the defense's argument, creating an air of doubt despite their aggressive strategy. It was clear the courtroom and public opinion remained divided on whether the defense's pushback truly held weight. While Diddy's team had made strides to poke holes in the allegations, the question lingered. Was it enough to erase the implication of Britney Spears from this web of scandal? One thing was certain. This trial wasn't just about Diddy anymore. Both he and Britney's legacies hung precariously in the balance. the trial of Sean Diddy Combs has become more than a legal battle. It's a spotlight on how celebrity culture thrives on secrecy and influence. The allegations surrounding the Freakoffs party and Britney Spears forced uncomfortable questions about exploitation power and accountability in Hollywood. Was Britney a victim of manipulation during her most vulnerable years? Or is this a case of overblown connections? The courtroom fallout continues to ripple outward, challenging the carefully controlled narrative surrounding these stars. Let us know what you think about this shocking trial and its revelations. What's the real story behind Diddy Britney and these allegations?